Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you kindly for taking time to join us today. Much appreciated. Firstly, a little housekeeping. Everyone is going to be muted during today's session, but we will have a questions and answers session towards the end of the webinar. If you can enter any questions you have via the questions and chat function on the panel, that'd be much appreciated. We will be recording today's session, just to let you make you aware. Now, I'm David Curtis, and I also have Marcel Varga with me here today.
Good morning, everyone.
So, without further ado, we will crack on. Marcel, could you put the next slide up, please? So, why us? There are 4 key pillars to our business: ERP and accounting, cloud, where we lift and shift traditional on-premise servers and infrastructure into a modern cloud workspace, managed IT, supporting our clients' day-to-day IT needs, and CRM, which is where Dynamics 365 sits. At the heart of those 4 pillars, however, is digital transformation. A digital transformation strategy is not just about technology, it's about people, processes, security, data, innovation, and much, much more. Please do let us know if we can help with any of this. And the next slide, please. I'll start. So today's agenda. We have literally a few more PowerPoint slides, just explaining about what Power BI is, connecting to CRM, relationships, visualizing data, and publishing and sharing reports. And there's a brief picture of and contact details of Marcel and myself. Feel free to reach out with any questions at all. Many thanks.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Marcel, and I will be guiding you through on this Power BI training for Dynamics 365 today. There are a few points that we're running through, and based on my experience, I've been doing this Power BI training for Dynamics, is then these are the key points that I always cover and the user would need to be aware of, and then they would be able to set up and create a Power BI training. So the very first thing is, what is actually Power BI? Power BI, it is a Microsoft product, part of the Office 365 platform. It is available for most of the users, most of the Office 365 users, and it can be connected to more than one databases and for more than one system as well. There are so many other reports and connections out there that you would be able to use with Power BI with. You could use it on a mobile devices. You could use it on a mobile on a web as well. You could embed it to a different platforms as well, which we're gonna see that later today. But mainly, it is a web application. But you do have also a desktop version where you can build a report and then you would be able to upload it to the cloud and then use it. The Power BI, no matter which system you're using with, it is a read-only option. So this is really good. So no matter what you do, you will not able to upload the data back to your system, even so if you're using Excel spreadsheet or if you're using with Dynamics or SharePoint, no matter, it's just a read-only function, which is a really good option. The next thing is then we're gonna see today is then how we are able to connect our Dynamics to Power BI. First of all, there is a native Dynamics connector, which is really good because it makes our life much easier when you want to connect to the Power BI. When you have a Dynamics connector, we're gonna see that later. Even so you think it's an easy connection, you actually need an API connection to be able to use Dynamics with Microsoft Power BI, but is actually available for everyone, and I will be able to show you where it can be found in the system. If you don't have access to that part of the system, then basically you would need to ask your system administrator, the CRM system administrator, to send those information to you. But basically, it's a really easy access. And also, Power BI can be linked to not just to Dynamics 365, as I mentioned previously. It can be linked to other ERP application or cloud application as well. And also, they can be linked at the same time. So you could have more than one source in the Power BI report, which is really good because you are able to compare information, for instance, like a CRM system where you do have the normal sales and the pipeline information, but you also have an ERP system where you already got an orders and invoices, and then you would be able to compare the pipeline with the actual information as well. So that is how you would be able to connect Dynamics to a Power BI. So if I actually show you those, that would be the easiest way to do that. So once you have got a Power BI downloaded, so this is the desktop version which you would need to download it from the website, from the Power BI website. But once it's downloaded, looks like a normal Office package, which does help a lot to most of the people to actually get started with the system. And when you want to connect Microsoft Dynamics to Dynamics, basically you would need to use this Dynamics 365 online connection. If you have on-premise version, then you can still use the online version connection because the API that I'm going to show you in a minute is still available for an on-premise version of Dynamics as well. But more likely people are using actually online version. So when you click on the online, and then when you're asking for a URL, that URL can be found in Dynamics. So if you are using, not sure if you are using the new unified interface of Dynamics or using the old system, basically you would need to go to your customization area. And in a customization area, you would need to go to the developer resources. And in the developer resources, you're going to have this API connection. This is what you would need to have in order to connect to Dynamics. So once you copy and paste this information, if you don't have access to this customization area, then you need to ask your system administrator to send this information across to you. But once you have got that information, you would just need to simply copy and paste that information into this, and then you click OK. And once you have got the connection, the system will load up all the tables that are available in your Dynamics system. So for instance, if you want to see accounts, that is basically an accounts table. If you want to see your opportunities, then you would need to go down and grab the opportunity table from here. Or you can actually search for a table as well. So if I want to search, if I want not just an account, if I want a opportunities, I can just simply search for those information in here. You can also search for, like, say, business units. Any unique or custom table in your Dynamics will be here as well. Any custom entities will be available in here as well. So basically, you will have access to all the system. Let's say phone calls, it's there as well. You can just simply search for those information. And once you've done that, you just need to simply click on load. And this is basically loading all the information into Dynamics. This will not be it's kind of a live connection, but it's every time you want to refresh the data, you would need to click on the refresh in here. but you don't need to establish the connection again because the system will automatically remember for this one. And also, if you have forgotten adding any table to your Power BI, basically you can use the recent sources, and then you would be able to go back and load up as many more tables as you want into your system. So for instance, I want to use the user information. Now, at sometimes Dynamics tables are not quite obvious, because let's say if I want to use the user table, now the user table, actually there is no user table, there is no table called user, but there is a system user table. So sometimes you need to find what it's actually called in the database. That is the hardest thing to find in Dynamics. But we can help you as an experience group, or actually your system administrator will be able to help you to get those information as well. And once you load it up into your Power BI, then you would be able to save it and create as many Power BI files as you want. And from that point, you don't need to worry about connecting the system again. My experience is then you can add as many tables as you want to this Power BI, but if you have a lot of information, if you have a lot of records in those tables, Power BI might be a little bit slow to get the information. So it's just the way how you want to set up your report. For instance, if you know then you want to report on opportunities, it might not work to actually have appointments or phone calls into your report as well. So trying to separate reports from each other, it would be useful as well. And once you have got a report, you would be able to upload it onto your Power BI or actually embed it into Dynamics, and then you would be able to get all the reports that you wanted. If you wanted to enter any other information, or if you want to use, as I mentioned before, you can link that to more than one source. If you want to add another source, you can basically just going to the system and then just start adding other information as well. So for instance, for Sage 200, then you might want to use the SQL Server, or for a Business Central, there is actually a Business Central connector for that one as well. So you would be able to use that. Or I'm not sure if anyone using SharePoint, for instance, like say we have clients who are actually using the CRM system, but then they're managing their project in a SharePoint, so you would be able to get SharePoint information in Power BI as well. So this is how you are able to connect Microsoft Dynamics to Power BI. The next thing, once we have got all the data in Power BI, we need to link them together. Everybody knows that in Dynamics there are relationships. So if I go into Dynamics, and if I go into, let's say, an opportunity, and an opportunity, if I opening up this particular record, then we all know there are lookup fields. These are the lookup fields, and this is the relationships in Dynamics. So Power BI doesn't always know the relationship between entities. It always tries to find it for you, but it doesn't always find the right one. So that's why we would actually need to find and create those relationships within the system. So when we are in Power BI, as you can see, this is just a normal Microsoft Office package. So on the top, we have got all the information how to connect. We are able to see different visualization. We have got an insert function when we can add more visualization. We have modeling option as well. On the right-hand side, once we have got all the data, all the tables, we have got all the information from the system. I can actually expand this information and it load up all the fields for me as well. These are the visualization which I'm going to cover that a little bit later. we have got filters option as well. And this white paper in here, or white page, it's basically our report. However, on the left-hand side, we have got this data option where we can actually see and double check the data that we have got. So if I click on accounts, then it's actually will show me all the tables that I have got. Or maybe it doesn't show. It should show. It might need a little bit, yeah, it basically might need a little bit more to load. So you would be able to see the data in here, double check whether it's a right field that I'm looking for or what the actual value on those as well. And in here, further down in the model section, this is where the relationships exist in the database. And this is where we need to link them together. Based on my experience, this is the actually hardest thing in Dynamics and Power BI. This is where you would need to speak to your system administrator, or if you are a system administrator, then you would need to understand how the underlying database are linked together. We could also help you to actually create a report or create these relationships between the tables, and then you would be able to do the reports by your own as well. So as I mentioned before, if I go into Dynamics, or if I go into Dynamics in here, I can see I have got an account record with a lookup field, and I have got an opportunity entity as well. Power BI try to use the connection automatically, and we have got two lines as well. Now, between tables, you could only have just one active connection. It's actually find a second relationship between the tables as well. However, that is not active. So when I try to run a report, or when I try to create a report, it will be using this relationship instead of this relationship. So what it means, if I go down into this box and if I highlight the record, I can actually see that it's linking the account ID and the customer ID value together. Although if I'm using this, it's actually trying to use the account ID as well as the parent account ID. So we all know in Dynamics that an opportunity, there are actually two connections for the accounts, not just only one. And this is what the system, we found it for us as well. So the question is on which relationships you use. If you are using the parent account ID relationship, then you would need to make this active. If not, then you can just basically using the customer ID information. These relationships can be managed by just double click on the normal relationship, which would then load up the information. So this is the table, the customer ID table. This is an opportunity table, and this is the account table, where I can change the value that I actually want to match them on. I can change the relationship behavior as well as the cross filtering option. Or if I wanted to, I could actually go to the manage relationship button on the top in here, where I would be able to manage more than one relationship at the same time. It might be easier if you have a lot of table. Based on my experience, it's easier if you're managing the relationship from here instead of trying to double click on every single line item all the time, because that could take a little while to run through on those records. If you don't need a relationship, then I highly recommend you to delete from the Power BI, even so you're not using. If you have a lot of relationship in the future, and if you have a lot of tables, that is probably going to cause an issue, because it will not be a simple place to see. So, but what we can see is that actually the system user, it's not linked to any table at the moment. So what I want to do is, if I'm going to an opportunity, and we all know the owner field, or you might have recalled it account manager or salesperson, but we have got an owner field which define who looks after this record. If you wanted to link them together, what you would need to do is you would need to find the owner ID, owner value in the opportunity table. which is in here, every lookup field or every relationship in Dynamics has got a underscore. That means it's a foreign key, which means that value is actually a ID from a different table. And I know that the owner ID value, it is a system user. So what I need to do is I need to go down in this list and I would need to find a system user ID field, this one. Every table in Dynamics has got a ID. So if I go into an opportunity, if I go down in here, I know there is an opportunity ID. If I go into account, I know there is an account ID. That is the unique identifier to a record. So you would need to use that to link two tables together. So in here, if I'm go and link the system user ID to a owner ID, as you can see, just a normal drag and drop option if you have got this table. And if I highlight now, you can see the system will automatically highlight. But actually, I could have done from here as well. I could have gone and create a new relationship from here as well. But because I don't have that many tables, it is easier if I just simply use this option to just do. And if I go back to the reports now, there is no too much different at this stage, but I know the relationship type. I know the relationship exists between the two tables now, so I would be able to create reports in the database. So that was the relationship. This is, I would say, the hardest thing to do with Power BI and Dynamics. The next thing that I want to cover with, for you is then the visualization. Microsoft Power BI, as we saw that, or I'm going to show you that in a minute as well, comes with a lot of default visualization, which are available in the database or in Power BI and can be used. We can change the color, we can change the format, we can change the type, we can change a lot of things on visualization. And depending on what visualization you use, there are different options. I will run through on a main one for you in a minute. But you also have got a marketplace, which is an app source for Microsoft. Everybody, if you have not looked at the Microsoft store yet, it's kind of any other Play Store or Apple Store, you are able to find a lot of useful tools, not just for Power BI. You could actually look for any Word add-in or any, actually Dynamics has got an app store as well, where you are able to go and search for solutions out there as well if you have not. But obviously we are always here to help you to find the best solution for you. Also, if you are a developer and if you want, you could actually start creating your own visualization as well for Power BI. If you want to create, you can create your own internal visualization, which is available just in your organization. But if you find that it's actually used for others, you can actually go to Microsoft and ask them to publish it, and then they would be available for those as well, for other customers as well. So just for the time being, I am going to swap to a different Power BI report because I already done some homework at this stage where I have got a account, an opportunity, a product, as well as an opportunity clauses information as well. So from now on, I am going to use this Power BI instead of using the default, the blank one that I created before. So these are the visualization that I was talking about earlier. If you wanted to, the way how Power BI works is that if you drag the information from your table and just drag it, drop into the report section, it always tries to find the default visualization. So for instance, for a value, always going to load up this information. If I'm going and let's say I'm going to drag and drop the postcode, that is another example, a good example. If I drag and drop the postcode into this report, that will load up a map automatically for me. So Power BI always trying to find the best visualization for the field, but doesn't really matter. We can change it at any time. So for instance, I can just highlight this record and I can change it to be a pie chart, for instance. So I can just simply change those. Or the other way around, you could actually grab the visualization first, and then once you have got that information, you can actually drag and drop the field into the settings area of that visualization. So I can then just simply use, let's say I want to see the estimated close date by the revenue by estimated close date. So I am going to drag and drop the estimated close date in here, and I'm going to use the estimated revenue to drag and drop into a value section. And then the system will automatically show me the right way. If you have got, let's say, good to know, if you have got a date field in Dynamics, Power BI is actually creating a hierarchy for you. So at the moment, as you can see, I can see the year. But if I wanted to, I could go down and I could see everything by quarter or month or day if I wanted to. So you could use these options to just showing different information. If you're only interested in the year and you don't want to see quarter or month, you can just simply remove the options from here. Or when you're actually creating the Power BI chart, you just need to grab, instead of dragging the estimated close date, you can just simply drag the year and then create a report by year if you wanted to. So that's kind of the same thing in here as well. So once you have got this visualization, what you can do is you are able to change the format. So every visualization in Power BI has got a format option, and on a format you can change different information. So you can change the axis, what it looks like. You can change the color as well. You can change the data color. So if you wanted to, I can change it. So let's say I want to change it to one of our colors, which would be this one, because I just did the test. And now you can see that it'll automatically change the color on a Power BI report. This is really nice if you want to present this chart, or if you want to present this report to an outside world, make it customizable for your brand or for your system. It's always the best way to present the information. So you got this year by estimated revenue. What you can also do is, so at the moment I can see the data in here, but actually I can add the data label and that would automatically show the information in here. What I can also do is I can actually change what I'm going to show. I can change all the information, or I can change by thousands as well if I wanted to. Now, what you may have noticed is that if I see this information, it doesn't actually look like a number field or a currency field. So when I go to the estimated revenue, I can actually see, or my Power BI can actually see this as a decimal number. But what you can do is, if you go into a modeling option, or you don't actually need to go because it's already here, but you can see, you can change the format, as well as you can change what is going to look like, or what it's going to look like in here as well. So I can change this to show actually pound to me. So now that looks like a currency information for me. So it's that would be useful when you do this. Okay, so you got this information, you got the year by the estimated revenue. What probably you would like to do or what normally people like is that they want to see by users as well. So like what we discussed, I want to see an opportunity by the owner field. Now, the question that I always ask, and always the main information, is that what you would like to do. Would you like to filter, or do you want to see the information? So if you want to see the information, you can just simply drag and drop the owner field into the legend, and that will automatically separate it for you by the users. Now, that looks okay, but it's probably a little bit too many information that you got in here. So you might want to use the filter option to actually filtering down. So what you can do is, instead of using the owner field in your chart, what I can do is I can apply a filter, or I can give a user an availability to pick whichever owner they want from here. So what I can do is I can drag and drop the owner field next to the chart in here, which would then turns into a normal table in the database. But in Power BI, we have got an option called slicer, where we are able to filter. So this is what Power BI actually call as filter. So where you are able to filter down. So let's say I want to see Marcel record information. And as you can see, because there is a relationship between an opportunity as well as the user, what we saw in here, what we saw previously, that's why the system automatically filtering down those information for me, so that I don't need to worry about those information. Now, as I mentioned previously, you have got this default information, default visualization, but sometimes you want to do something a little bit nicer. So there is a really good slicer, which is available from the App Store. So if I'm going to get more visualization, it would load up the app source or the store, where I would be able to search for a slicer. Most of the visualization in here, it is a free tool. If it costs, then you would be able to see in here. But basically, you can just, only thing what you would need to do is just highlight and you click add, and that will automatically add into your Power BI report. Now, what you need to know is, once you add it in here, that will only available just for this report. So for instance, if you create a brand new Power BI report, then unfortunately you would need to add it again, and you will need to add all the time. But if you just save as this report to another one, that will not that will stay in the system, so that will not be an issue. And why this one is good, because if I actually use this instead of a default slicer, this automatically turns, it's a nicer buttons in the system, and this is more likely that everybody likes to actually, and it kind of works the same way. You just simply just highlight the record, and then you would be able to change this information as well. So you can have these. What you can also do is, with this one, you can change what it looks like. So let's say I want to give them not 3 columns, I want 2 columns. Then you can change those information as well. What you can also do is, let's say when I highlight the record, at the moment there is blue, but let's say I want to change it to be a orange one. I can then go there and change it to be an orange one. Sorry, just a second. Select it color, and then if I highlight to be change the orange one, if I highlight this, you can see now it's basically orange. It is nice to have. So you could have those information as well. And as I mentioned before, you could actually have a you could have just a year only. So for instance, if I wanted to, I can just drag and drop the year. I can change that to be a slicer or the chiclet slicer, which you can see now. It is basically a normal button. What I can do is I can go there and I can change it to be a one column. So now that has turned to a normal. So the user in here, let's say I want to see 2017 for Marcel, and it would then automatically show this information. But if you prefer to have a normal slicer, which basically what you would normally have in Power BI, you could also use this option, and now you can see I need to change this to be a actually estimated close date. And then I can then say between, and now you can see that is actually a slicer where I can just simply use different options in here. I can change between dates as well. This will only work just for dates. If you have a number field, you would not be able to turn this, but this is a really nice option in Power BI, and most of the people like this, just a slicer, normal slicer. But what you could also do is you could also have a relative date. So for instance, most of the time people asking me, okay, I want to see something in the last month. What you can do is I can say in here a last one. You can also use calendar weeks or calendar month as well as a normal. So I want to see the last 2 months information. Or if we are talking about estimated revenue, we all know estimated revenue is in the future. So we probably want to see something in the future, not something in the past, because that will not be relevant. If we want to see something in the past, we might want to use the actual revenue information and not the estimated revenue information. But you would be able to use this option with a normal slicer as well. So we got this graph in here. What we also have is we have got a pie chart option as well. So the pie chart, so for instance, if I want to see the actual revenue, so I can put the estimated actual revenue in here by the actual close date, and then you would be able to see. So that is an estimated revenue, and this is an actual one. So you would be able to see those information, and I want to filter down by the user. It would then automatically filtering down those information. If you have got a pie chart, for instance, on a pie chart, what you could do is you could actually change the detail label. So what you would like to see, as at the moment, as you can see, it's showing the percentages as well as the number. If I actually wanted to see just the percentages only, you can then change that to those information as well. And because everything is linked together, if I just simply click on here, that would automatically show this information. So there are plenty of other options that you got for visualization, and I would highly recommend you to just go there and then just use those in a full extension. So that was the visualization of Dynamics. The next thing that I wanted to show you is then how you are able to publish or share the reports. So you can publish it to the web, which means you would be able to see the report in an internet browser, no matter which internet browser, or if you downloaded the Power BI app onto your App Store, then you would be able to see that on your mobile device as well. Or actually, you can embed it to a third-party application. In this case, the third party means Dynamics. So you are able to embed it Microsoft Power BI report into CRM, or in case you have a customer portal for your Dynamics system, then you would be able to upload it onto there, so the user would be able to see a very nice, fancy Power BI report on their customer portal. Or if you are using SharePoint Online, you would be able to add those information as well. So how does it work? if I go into this report now, and let's say I'm done, what you can then do is you have got this publish option. Now, just let you know, if you want to share the report with other user, or if you want to share it with externally, that is basically requires a Microsoft Power BI Pro licenses, or it's depending on what Office 365 plan you have got, because if you have got a certain plan, then it's actually included the Power BI Pro license as well. So if you want to share it with other users, or if you actually want to share it externally, then you would need to have a Power BI Pro license to do that. But once we have got that information, I actually just created a test one. So I'm able to publish it to the web. And once I have got that information, as you can see, it's actually showing me, do you want to open it in the web, on the web? And yeah, fine. I want to open it on the web. And that will open it up in here. So in order to use this, what you would need to do is you would need to simply go to powerbi.com, and then you would not basically need to be just log in into Power BI. And once you logged in, then you would be able to see your report in here. You could also change the report in here if you wanted to, but please be aware that once you changed it in here and then you change it on the desktop version, and once you publish it, it's going to change it. So the desktop version will win, so you're going to override whatever you have in here. So it's probably not ideally to changing the report on the web. It's always ideally to change that on the desktop version. So once you have got this on the web, basically, if you have got an app version, you would be able to log into to your mobile as well. You can see those information. But what you could also do is you could also create a dashboard, like I said before. So let's say I'm going to call this Power BI training. Pin to the live section. And now I have got this Power BI option as a dashboard. What I can also do is now I can go to Dynamics. And if I go into dashboard section in here, I can then add this dashboard. Or it just doesn't like to load in. Okay. I might need to refresh the data again. There is a settings in Dynamics that you would need to enable in order to see this option as well. So when you go into a customization, or when you go into the settings, under the administration, you have got the system settings, and on the system settings, there is a reporting option where you would need to make sure that the Power BI visualization is set to yes. And once you have got that information, then we should be able to log in and then see reports. There you go. We have got that information. Now I just had to refresh Dynamics and an internet browser. Now I have got this Power BI dashboard. I mean, actually, I could have different dashboard as well. So I could just simply use this option. And now we have got the report in here. At the moment, this report or this dashboard is only available to myself. We all know we can share dashboard in Dynamics, so I can actually share this with other user within Dynamics. But actually, at the bottom, I would also need to add, and I would also need to share the Power BI report with other users, which, as I mentioned before, unfortunately involves Power BI Pro licenses. Now we could help you to set those up for you as well. It doesn't cost too much to have a Power BI Pro licenses, but the nice way to is then you would have everything in here, and as you can see, this is designed report as well, so everybody would be able to see this information in Power. And actually, you can search and you can filter down on information as well. So it's an interactive. It's not just a static report or dashboard that you can see. In this case, it works exactly the same way how it works in Power BI. So you can just filter down, or anyone could be filtering down on these as well. So that was it. That's why I wanted to cover for today in this lovely sunny morning for you. Does anyone have any question?
Oh, Marcel, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. We have a question. Where can we find the relationships in Microsoft Dynamics? We need the MS Dynamics primary and foreign keys before creating the same relationships in Power BI.
Yeah, so the relationships can be found if you're going to Dynamics. So you would need to go to the customization area. If you don't have access to the customization area, or if you work with solutions, if you don't have access to solutions, that means you are not a system administrator. But once you have got access to this, you would need to go to an entity. So for instance, if I going to an opportunity entity, then those have got this relationship. So every entity in Dynamics has got relationships linked in here. No matter which entity I'm going for, order entity, you have got these order entities in here. And if you click on there, then you would be able to see the relationships in Dynamics. Just a second, it's just still loading up, as you can see. And now these are the relationships. So I can see the opportunity. It's linked to a lead, linked to an appointment, linked to an email, linked to everything, order close as well. Or if I go into a many-to-one relationships, then you would be able to see the business units and user as well. So these are basically the relationships in Dynamics that you want to know and double check those information. You can also see this is the relationship, the opportunity, it's linked to the account based on this field, the potential customer or the account. So this is where you are able to see the relationship and creating and use that for Dynamics as well, or use it for Power BI. Hope this answers for your questions.
Yes, thank you, Marcel. Does anyone have any further questions at all? We'll give it 20 seconds or so. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any further questions. If you could just pop onto the last slide, Marcel. Okay, so thank you kindly for taking time today, much appreciated. There are a number of other sessions. There will also be recordings available of the various sessions, so please do get in touch. You can reach us at inquiries@experience-group.com, or Marcel and my email addresses are down below there as well, so please do feel free to reach out. Finally, we will be sending out a feedback form after today's session. If you could just provide a little bit of feedback, it really helps us shape the future webinars. Once again, thanks again for taking time out, and yeah, speak soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.